Hi all, this is Simona Rich, and in this video I would like to share with you what I recently learned about work. Actually, it's not recently, but I learned it so gradually that only now I realize that I have this ability, and it's a very beneficial one to have. So I thought I will share it with you so that you might also be able to apply it in your life to learn this ability. So what I realized that I'm now able to do is not allow my work performance to influence other areas of life. And I learned to do this through trying to put all of me into the work. So when I work, I try to do the work to the best of my ability. And because I do this allows me to then very quickly disconnect from the work once it's finished, and I no longer need to think about whether I performed well or not. So it doesn't influence other areas of my life because I do my best and then I just disconnect from that once the work is done. And this allows you to live just a healthier life when you are not stressed out about your work. So the way that I was able to learn this lesson is by putting all of me into the work. And of course, work will never be perfectly accomplished. We're not perfect human beings, but we should do the best that we can with the resources that we have. So if you do your best, this will allow you to disconnect from work once it's done, and therefore you won't be stressed out. Even if your work is stressful, once you finish it, that stress will no longer affect you. It won't be there because you put all that you have in the work, and then there's nothing else you can do. You did your best. So then after work, you don't need to regret that you didn't do this or that, because you did everything that you could at work. So this is what I learned. If I do my best, then I very quickly can switch off from work and enjoy my life, like when I travel or do anything else that I enjoy, my mind is then completely on that subject and I can fully enjoy it rather than doing something non-related to work, but the mind might keep still thinking about work. So this doesn't happen if you really do your best. And I also learned that no matter how much you try to provide good service, sometimes your work will be a success and sometimes not. And this really interested me, and I was wondering about why this happened for a while, since actually I started blogging, because sometimes you write an article and you think it's a regular one and it gets huge attention, and sometimes you write great article and you put so much work into it and it receives very little attention. So it's really not up to you to know whether your work is successful or not. What you are in control of is putting all your best into that work, but then once it's finished, the way that the public reacts to it, you really cannot predict. And actually I thought that it's just me being unable to predict, but it's the case with most artists. They really cannot tell which of their work will be accepted and which of their work won't be accepted by the public. It's really not up to them. Up to them is to the point where they create something, and then once it's released, many times you cannot predict public reaction to it. And since you probably know from my other videos that I now take great interest in Indian film industry, and I watched quite a few of the videos with actors, and that's what I got confirmed, that they can never know which movie will do well, because sometimes they think that the movie will do really well, but actually once it's released, it's a flop. So you cannot expect that. What you can do with your work is do your best, be as perfect as you can, but once it's released, it's you cannot influence its either success or failure. It's up to the public whether they want to accept it or reject it. But I find that if you really do your best, then you have peace of mind. Whether the work is accepted or not accepted, you're at peace with yourself because you did the best that you could. So that's what I learned. That's what gives me great peace of mind. This ability to totally disconnect from the work that I do, and whether it receives positive reaction from the public or not, you're just at peace with yourself because you did all that you could. And in the past, I was unable to do so. And for example, when I would offer coaching services, I would not be able to switch off from the problems that people were my clients were faced with, and I would think a lot about it. But now I notice that this is the thing of the past, because now as I offer life assessment through natal charts, I notice that when I'm working on the chart, I'm 100% focused on the chart. I feel that energy. I feel what I'm supposed to tell to that person, because interestingly, people who contact me, it's due to the star influence, those people who order such services, because there's something that life wants to tell them, maybe warn about something, but it's unable to come through to that person, so they are influenced to seek for such help so that they reveal that information. So when I'm working on the chart, I'm fully focused on that, to get that information through and to analyze it fully. But then once it's done, I completely disconnect 100%. Once the work is done, it's totally out of my mind and I'm focused on the present moment. So this really improved my life. It allowed me to enjoy life to such a greater degree, because the mind is clear, the mind is fresh, and the mind is present. It no longer dwells on the fact of whether I did the work well or wrong, because I did all my best. I put all of myself into that work. So once it's done, it's done. And then I'm present. I remain present and I'm able to enjoy my life, whether it comes to traveling, going out, or something like reading, doing anything. I'm able to be fully present in that activity. The mind is at peace because you put all of yourself into what you do. So this not only applies to work, but just being your best at everything you do. When you are able to really try to express yourself fully and to provide value and to do whatever you do in as perfect way as possible, this keeps the mind at peace. You're no longer feeling anxious or worried. The mind becomes really clear. So I encourage everyone who watches this video to try this. Whatever you do, do it your best, and not only will it keep the mind much more at peace, but you might also be able to achieve great heights in your career, or achieve receive any other benefits if it's not connected with work. This is just the advice that will really help you to become more at peace with yourself, and the life must improve to quite a great extent if you really apply yourself in whatever that you do. So that's all the advice for today. Thank you for watching. Take care.